Look, man, conservatives, they just want to be left alone. They have families, jobs, churches, hobbies. They love their country, but they stay busy and comfortable. Politics feels like something for other people, activists, ideologues, and the perpetually aggrieved. The left may dream of tearing the system down in a fiery Marxist revolution, but like one solid vote every couple of years or so should keep the crazies at bay, right? Then it's back to work. Little league, barbecue, all that stuff. That belief sustained many on the right for decades, but it's become a liability. The sunshine conservative lives under the assumption that the American system more or less runs itself, that excesses can be corrected with minimal effort, and that power remains constrained by shared norms. Those assumptions no longer hold. The times that try men's souls have returned, and the sunshine conservative is about to discover that comfort carries a cost. For years, a bipartisan consensus reshaped the country through mass immigration. Call it a conspiracy if you like, but incentives explain it much better. Democrats saw a reliable path to permanent power. Immigrants arrive without wealth, social capital, or political leverage. They gravitate towards the party that promises them redistribution and protection. Every program, from healthcare, housing, loans, benefits, it all tilts towards newcomers. Open borders grow government, entrench dependency, and expand the progressive patronage machine. Republican incentives look different but prove just as corrosive. Conservative voters opposed mass immigration, legal and illegal, but party leadership feared one thing above all else, being called racist. Progressive programming successfully framed the idea of America as a homeland, run for the benefit of its, own people, as morally suspect. Any attempt to articulate national interest became nativism, as if there was something immoral about a country caring about its native population. Chamber of Commerce Republicans exploited that fear, importing millions of workers willing to accept suppressed wages while silencing critics through ritual denunciation. While the country changed, conservatives largely stood aside. The transformation unsettled them, but lawn care got cheaper and food delivery became faster. The sunshine conservative preferred comfort to confrontation. Political activism is vulgar. Winners, after all, they make money and just buy a bunch of boats. Well, now the bill for that detached attitude is coming due. Human trafficking, drug flows, violent crime, overcrowded hospitals, stagnant wages, exploding housing costs. The social fabric frays under the weight of policies designed to benefit elites while disciplining everyone else. The Trump administration's effort to remove the worst offenders collides with a system addicted to inflow. Obvious solutions exist, of course: employer enforcement, E-Verify, ending the H-1B scam, taxing remittances heavily, but those measures threaten donor interests. Instead, enforcement proceeds piecemeal, state by state, criminal by criminal. Each attempt to exercise authority triggers panic among mainstream conservatives. They fret about the optics. They warn about the norms. They clutch abstractions while the left shoots at or runs over federal agents, storms churches, and treats public order as optional. Establishment voices agonize over power even as their opponents wield it without hesitation. A friend of mine returned from the global war on terror with what the doctors labeled as post-traumatic stress disorder. The diagnosis missed the point. His trauma didn't come from violence alone, it came from clarity. He had lived in a world where stakes mattered, where power operated openly, where failure carried consequences. Returning to a culture submerged in therapeutic language, pronouns, and safe spaces proved disorienting. Everyone else lived in some fantasy and demanded that he play along with their delusions. Eventually, he learned to keep that to himself, but he still regards much of what surrounds him as childish and unmoored from reality. That reaction mirrors what many feel about sunshine conservatives. They cling to a story about politics that bears no resemblance to how power actually functions. When confronted with the evidence, they demand that reality conform to their narrative. It never does. That narrative existed to pacify them, to make them manageable. They defend it with the same fervor with which the left defends its own delusions. It's their version of there are 207 genders. But each crisis cracks the facade. An assassination, a church invasion, a city surrendering to disorder. Every time, a few more conservatives realize the truth, only to be swarmed by those demanding a return to the small talk about tax rates and process. Oh my gosh, the norms. Can't you think about the norms? What about the principles? oh no, we can't think about power. It's got to be a small government, man. We're just, small government. That's all that matters. You don't want to be woke. You don't want to be like the left. We've heard it all before, but it's the same crabs in the bucket mentality. No one's allowed to leave the reservation. I mean, come on. The problem was never with those that saw the danger. They were warning people what was going on. They knew what was going to happen. That was not the issue. The issue is with the people who insist, even up to now, after everything the left has done, after the shootings, the murders, the attacks, they're still insisting that everyone just look away. It's fine. Everything's fine. You just need a little constitution. You'll be fine. It'll be okay. Put a little constitution on it. You'll wake up in the morning. You'll feel great. I'm sorry, but the question no longer concerns policy tweaks. It concerns survival. One side believes that the country deserves preservation and repair. The other treats it as illegitimate and disposable. That divide cannot be bridged by nostalgia or proceduralism. The Sunshine Conservative era has ended. Saving the country requires engagement, sacrifice, and the willingness to place political reality over personal comfort. It requires choosing the future of one's children over quarterly returns. It requires the disciplined use of power to defend the nation's institutions, borders, and communities, even when that makes polite society uncomfortable. A single vote for president followed by a retreat to, fantasy football and video games and Marvel movies and whatever trash we're filling our time with, it just no longer suffices. And look, I know that's not all conservatives are doing. Like I said, they're busy with families. They're busy running businesses. They're actually volunteering at the church and everything else. And that's great. That's good. You have to continue to do that stuff. But you've also got to be politically engaged. Just saying, oh, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I've got to work. I'm busy. I've got a family is no longer an excuse. We are looking at the future of the nation and whether it has one at all. Simply saying, I'm sorry, I was busy, I just want to grill, I just want to be left alone, it's no longer enough. The fantasy that voting alone is enough belongs with all the other comforting lies in the trash. The right can either shed it or it can be ruled by those who never believed it in the first place. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and click like. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is a great time to do so. If you want to get these broadcasts as podcasts, make sure to subscribe to the Auron MacIntyre Show on your favorite podcast platform. And when you do, leave a rating or review. It really helps with the algorithm magic. The podcast continues to grow, guys. It's been fantastic to see. And if you want to help me start the New Year's out right, go ahead and share it. Tell your friends, tell your family. Let's drive this thing up the charts. If you want to follow me on Twitter or Gab or Substack or Instagram, you can find the links to do all of that down below in the description. You'll also find links to watch these videos on Rumble or Odyssey if you prefer those platforms. I also have my book, The Total State, is about to go into its paperback printing, its second edition printing. So if you want a hardcover, you can still find them while they're available. Make sure that you go ahead and pick that up. And of course, you can read all of my columns and watch all of my episodes over at The Blaze. Thanks for watching, guys, and as always, I'll talk to you next time.